So what's good, y'all? So we already know we're gonna vibe out this evening. We're gonna let YouTube do what it do as it goes out and reach and touch somebody. But in the meanwhile, while some of you are on, just peace. You can let me know what city you're from. Just in the comments. Let me know if you can hear me. Oh, peace. Okay, so y'all can hear me. That's what's good. So we're gonna tap into some really good things tonight. Uh, oh, that's Keith. What's up, man? What's up, man? What's up? Um, so we're gonna tap into something pretty interesting. And I'll give it about a minute or so for YouTube to kind of send the notification out. But in the meanwhile, we're all about trying to keep it positive vibes and stuff like that. So feel free to ask questions and stuff in there. I'll try to address it more like I probably towards the end. I'll do that. But definitely do it. Definitely express because it just just gets everything going. Um, if you see like trolling stuff that's not even relevant to what we're discussing, just go ahead and remove it or whatever so we can kind of keep it moving, keep everything positive. That way, don't distract people. Uh, but peace. So we got people on here. So, what we're going to do as the notification is going out, we're going to get in and talk about Ari Lennox. I love her music. So, but it looked like she was being very transparent, being very honest, and on a podcast, and of course, it kind of caught wind a little bit. Someone kind of sent it to me earlier this morning or earlier in the day. And I saw it and kind of sparked a conversation. And I was kind of moved to, to cover it. So we're going to cover that tonight. We're going to talk about, Ari Lennox. And I just let everybody know it's going to be from a very positive perspective, but also from a reflective and a self-awareness type of space of understanding. I saw some, red pill. So that to let y'all know, I'm not even on all that stuff. So people are kind of maybe trying to attack what she shared. I'm looking as actually, I applaud what she did share. I think it shows a lot. It shows where she's at in her phase of femininity. I'm going to touch on that too, and also what she's recognizing. Anytime someone's able to recognize something, that's empowerment. And so that's not something to attack or to prove a certain point. It's showing somebody that's on a process of evolution in which she is. So just want to set that tone. So for ladies you're on here, I'm not trying to bash, Ari, but I am going to break down her numbers from her Living Soul uh, profile numbers and really break it down and give a commentary in relation to her statement. Um, what she kind of expressed earlier today. So some of you just chiming in. I'm Satori Seals. I'm a soul guider. I do relationship pattern breakdowns, things like that by using the Living Soul numerology system. This is not a traditional numerology system. It's very unique because it's aligned with universal principles and laws. It also taps into the psyche of us. It also rolls over into different predictions and understanding our energy in terms of relationships, in regards to what's going on for the week for us, in terms of what our aim is, to help us understand our purpose. So a wide range of things in terms of what the Living Soul numerology provides. We actually have on April 12th, we have an immersive um, session is going to be going on dealing with relationship mapping. So really going into, so some of you that really wants to understand how to maybe some old relationships, you want to know how to map and understand it, or just go into new relationships and map it, or you want to understand aspects of what your attraction and repulsion matrix is in terms of what really aligns with your soul and how to fashion that you kind of get some of the information inside the relationship mapping. So we'll be doing that. So that'll be virtual on the April 12th. But then we're also planning on doing some physical meetups. So the more and more I get more people that's kind of confirming that they actually want to do a physical meetup in certain areas. And we got certain areas like Indianapolis. We got some signals in DMV area and got some stuff in Oakland. We got some stuff in different areas where we're going to try to bring some of this. So my whole thing is just trying to bring into mature and to advance the understanding about relationships in regards to ourselves, in regards to what we're choosing, in regards to what our experience are, and so forth. A lot of times we just are approaching relationship from one perspective and with one aim, and it's not doing justice. So I don't have time to get into that. But what we're gonna do is do Ari Lennox. She is she's a R&B, neo soul. Actually, she did a great set with Robert Glasper not too long ago. I hope she continues to move in that direction and do some more, with that neo soul jazz uh, mixture. That was, I mean, she really nailed it from what I saw. So just let you know, I appreciate, I like what she's about as a woman, and so again, I don't know too many details about her, but I know enough. I appreciate her music. So, but Ari expressed, and I'm going to summarize. She expressed earlier, or I don't know when, wherever the podcast was when it occurred, but she expressed that she was admitting to she kind of overlooked the sweet guys that was possibly in her life, and she basically has a preference for more toxic energy, toxic relationship exchange with men. And she didn't say in a bashing way to men or anything like that. She was just saying she was observing her paradigm of choice, and she was recognizing her paradigm of choice that she had this thing within inside herself, and she basically said that she just is obviously choosing the toxic men, or in a toxic relationship type of, she had that toxic appetite, obviously. And so we talk about toxic relationship. We're talking about relationships that drain you, relationships that always got you on eggshells, relationship that's not stimulating the growth in you, relationships that's kind of got you compromising who you are, a relationship that's kind of got you pulled out of your truths. Basically anything that's not um, soothing the soul. Okay. And so a relationship that's not soothing the soul, we can basically loosely term it as a toxic relationship. Now, some of you know I write books. I'm an author as well. And if you are someone that kind of wrestles with trying to um, discern if people or things are well for your soul before it becomes a red flag. Okay, I'm gonna say be able to discern what's well for your soul before it becomes a red flag. I encourage you to grab my book, Soul Rights. Soul Rights will just help you to really understand. There's basically 11 different rights, and then also I go into 11 different soul deterrents. And so as you understand these things, it helps you recognize if you really wrestle with getting into toxic relationships or seem like you have a toxic relationship appetite, but you're trying to change that pattern. What I will say, starting out right now, is that you need to understand what your soul rights are. Okay. And then be true to those soul rights and learn how to align with those soul rights. And so, actually, if you're trying to get that, actually, I have a description. I mean, inside the description, you'll see like a link for other books I have. But if you click that link and then, you scroll down with all the different library books that I have, you'll see soul rights there. Go ahead and grab that. It's a game changer for you. So those of you that is kind of chiming in is really serious about understanding. Like I know I kind of find myself in toxic situations, and I want to be able to discern it before I get into it. Soul Rights is definitely highly recommended for you to grab. And you could just click that link and download that ASAP. Thank me later. It's straightforward, to the point. Some of you that have kind of already grabbed the book, you already know what it's about. But I just want to put that out there. But so talking about Ari Lennox, she is I think she just turned. Oh, she's getting ready to turn 35. I think her birthday's on the 26th this month. So this is we're going to tap into this. So when she made a statement that she basically had a thing, obviously had a thing for toxic relationships. And she said it from a very reflective space. So I want to do justice. I know there's men on podcasts kind of take an opportunity to throw jabs, and I don't want to do that. I really want to set the tone because she came from a very mature space and from a self recognition. And so one of the things she recognized about the toxic relationship, she was like, she said, I know I still have work to do. So let me know that she's already on a personal healing, self awareness, self discovery, and she's into life lessons. And she's obviously has some type of spiritual pursuit within inside herself. And she's recognized these things because typically the first step in spirituality is your alignment with truth and also your ability to self reflect and see yourself. In other words, to know thyself. And so she came from that space. So I want to make sure I highlight that, And so y'all go ahead and share this, get this out here on YouTube. And so let's get into this. So her soul numbers are 3824. Some of you might be just chiming in. We're talking about the living soul numerology system, and we all have numbers assigned to us, 1 through 9. We all visit them at different times of our life, but we have primary numbers that are set to us that kind of just influence and shape our thinking, kind of give us highlights of what we attract, what we avoid, highlights opportunities that we can kind of capitalize on, give us alignments where we might be more prosperous at. Also give us indication in terms of where our skill sets are at and how we participate inside the marketplace or the job space or whatever. So wide range, complete, system. But at the base of it, you have 4 numbers assigned to you. And so Ari Lennox numbers are 3824. Okay. And so when you look at her numbers, let y'all realize I talk a lot about gender energy and the energy position. So gender energy, we talk about the masculine, androgynous, the feminine energy, and each of those energies takes a position. And they could take a dominant, neutral, or a submissive position. And so we look at Ari's Lennox. You heard me on other lives talk about before about the energy hierarchy. In other words, what energy hierarchy that she operates in that's really well for her in reference to relationship space that will do well for her. And so I'm going to highlight that. But what I want to do is set the tone because I want to kind of build this as I get into this. First, I want to say what we're going to focus in on tonight in reference to what she reflectively admitted and communicated. I want to come from what we refer to as the soul attachments. And the soul attachments come from a system inside the living soul neurite system referred to as the P's of attachment. The reason we say P's of attachment because there's 9 attachments that all start with the letter P. Okay, and these are reflective of different type of attachments that attach to our soul. And why am I going to the attachments to help bring out what we understand to give, Ari some insight to understand why she still has this little bit of this diet of choosing and preferring toxic men in her life. It's an attachment thing. So we need to look at the attachment. So a lot of times when people admit stuff like that, we have to look at the attachments and also look at their mirror of avoidance. Okay. And then we can look at their traits of attraction. If you want insight on the traits of attraction, there is actually an audio album that's about 15 to 20 minutes long and really break down for you to understand the traits of attraction, what they really show and help and reveal. And they're universal. So you can always look at these 4 different points and traits of attraction and pull out certain things to understand about yourself, what you're attracting, and so forth. So one of the traits of attraction is avoidance. See, we don't talk a lot about that. When we find ourselves attracting to things or whatever, a lot of times it can be based off an avoidance, something we're avoiding inside ourselves. Okay. Another thing we know, the obvious part of attraction is what we seek. What we seek in other people. Also what we admire. Okay, and also what we project. And so there's these different aspects in the attractive aspect in us that will be woven in to our experiences. A lot of times we just don't know about it unless someone brings light to it to try to give you a template to help you see it. So that's what I try to do when I do relationship, pattern analysis and stuff like that, is to help provide these templates or these frameworks or these containers for you can kind of work through your own self and simulate it to recognize it for yourself. Because in the day is relationships is operative and interactive and full of interplays and full of situations. So I try to come from a space so you can understand that and see that. Okay. And so when we talk about Lady Ari, Lennox, first of all, so we're going to tap into her attachment, um, the attachments that is showing based off her numbers of why she's has this residue of still choosing toxic men. And she did express some things she's recognizing, like excitement and things like that. And some of the nicer guys, the sweet guys she called are a little boring and so forth. So she was very tapped into her, you know what I'm saying? So what I want to do is talk about this in terms of the phases that women and men go through phase two, but we're talking about Ari. There are these overarching phases I call phases of femininity. And so Ari being turning age 35, she's in a very unique transition space as a woman. And I know I have a lot of mature audience. And if y'all could think back, if you think back when you was 35 as a woman, there was some major transitions that was occurring. So I want to kind of speak to this a little bit to kind of, again, as I'm trying to build this real fast, so we can understand Ari, because it plays into her, her appetite for the toxicity that she's somewhat feel like she's trying to move away from. And let me do her justice when she said this as well too. She said in the prompting of her reflection, she was like, I know there's something wrong, and again I'm paraphrasing. I know there's something wrong because she was comparing, and not comparing in a bad way. She was like, she's recognizing other people, sweet guys, and or with other women and so forth, and they are forming intentional relationships. They're getting married, or people are just, they're really are moving in a different trajectory. And she's realizing the space where she's at as a woman, looking like, okay, I know there's something off. So you got to respect that. You don't attack that. You know what I'm saying? That that's somebody that's embodying awareness. You know what I mean? Um, and that's a very good space. That lets you know that she's advancing in the direction that she needs to go. Let me know if I'm making sense, in the comments, so that way I make sure I'm talking in a language that everybody understands. So, in the phases of femininity, there's certain phases, and actually I captured that inside of a book, ladies. If you want to check that out, phases of femininity. Um, so Ari she'll be turning 35. So she's actually ending a phase and getting ready to move over into another phase next year. And so typically, for visual understanding, before you cross over into another phase, there's like this energetic eclipse. So picture like, so there's this overshadowing and it represents this transitory um, period. And typically, so these cycles, the life phases of femininity is operating these every 9 years of cycles. It's after the ninth year, you reset back to the first year. Okay, as we know, a lot of us been following. Last year was the 9, we're in the year 1, so we just recycle. So Ari is actually getting ready to enter into a new phase. She's ending her what we refer to as the confirmation phase. Okay, and so the confirmation phase is it's a period from age 26 to 35. So she is entering into it, and so as she's entering into it, is very interesting. She is um, during this phase is also governed overall by the fire. Ari has a good amount of fire in her soul profile. We'll get into that. But during this phase, or as a woman, so as the fire, she's learning about self confidence, who she really is, understanding her what appeals and attracts to her, and then how she relates with it. How does she process it? Um, so there's a lot going on in the confirmation. It's a time in a phase, a season of confirming of the woman that you are, right? And now she's getting ready to go into what we refer to as a magnetizing phase. And so magnetizing phase begins at age 36. and it goes on to age 45. And so this magnetizing phase is typically what I always like to say, in respect, this is where you start to see women put on their sexy. You don't really say, well, I'll say old school, but you really don't find yourself saying a woman is sexy in her 20s or in her early 30s. You typically just naturally begin to say women are putting on their sexy when they really cross over into this magnetizing phase. Why? It's because she's really tapping into her feminine power. And so what's happening is, and Ari's already, and just by her being reflective and saying those things, let me realize that she's really on the path of tapping into her feminine power. And she's in a good space. She's in a good pace. So that's what I said. It's kind of like, no, this is where you want her to be. If you're, really rooting for her on a positive sense, she's going to the magnetizing phase. She's tapping into her feminine power. And understand that feminine power, she has to understand what gets in the way of that feminine power. So she's where maybe she was younger, and I'm not saying she was, I'm saying when she was younger, fire, you might have been chasing, you might be trying to force things, you might be trying to initiate things. When you start shifting it more into your magnetizing phase, you start understanding how to draw things to you. You know how to be more calm, you know how to be more grounded, you know how to, invite things. That's feminine power. Feminine power manifests things differently than the masculine, and differently from the androgynous. And so, but tapping into that feminine power is the attractive. So she's learning her attractive quotient as terms of her charm, her charisma, what she puts out, effortlessly that really comes back. And it's also about a lot about inner cultivation. Magnetizing phase is all about inner cultivation. So she's literally going from a time period, because we start to track these phases what a woman goes through from age 16 to 25, and then from, going from 26 to 35, and then now. So we're going through these phases they're just developing, there's evolution. Now you could be on the right track, or it could be on the opposite of the shadow track. But in the day, you're still going through these different phases, and each year brings about a different soul lesson to you. And it sounds like Ari is right where she needs to be in getting the soul lessons that she needs. Because the year 9, the last year that she's in, when she turns 35, in a couple of weeks, is to end things. And so she was expressing, when I heard it, when someone brought it to me, I was like, oh, she's the right where she needs to be. I was like, really? Yeah, she's willing to end this toxic appetite. It sounds like she has a lot of it under control in terms of the field, but she realized there's still some residue there. She said, I got to get down to that. Got to respect that. Got to respect that. And so what it is let me realize that she is ending a cycle. And matter of fact, it'll be easier for her to end the cycle because the energy that's coming for her soul alignment during this year when she crosses 35 is she got an extra boost to assist her to begin to eliminate things that no longer serve what? Her soul. Okay. And so her self-awareness, and she's already listed certain things of why she might be attracted to it. It's a good indicator that she is really tapping into her feminine power. And you kind of can see, in her album, she's released a new album. So shout out to her. Check out her album, Ari Lennox. She's nice. One of my songs I've been banging lately is her Mobbing in DC. She's a DMV, matter of fact, shout out to everyone on here from the DMV area. She's a DC lady. So she's a soulful woman. And what you're starting to see, and if you and out of respect and admiration, I can see, y'all know I do a lot of energy body work, and stuff like that. I travel nationally, and I interact with a lot of different women. And so I have a unique eye to know when a woman is transitioning into her power, because I do a lot of times help activate the power and all that different stuff, not me saying doing it, but just really getting to witness them coming into those powers. And when you look at Ari, yes, she's an attractive woman, but it's beyond that. And I'm glad to say, I'm saying this as a man. I think it's good for women to hear this. I'm saying this as a man that yes, she's a very attractive woman, But when I say a woman's putting on her sexy, I'm addressing the inner quality that I'm able to start seeing unfold. And I see it. I see it in her. You know, um, I see it in her. I can hear it in her music. I can, what she's doing now. I really got to see it when I saw little highlights of her perform at Robert Glasper. I was like, oh, you know, bring her over to the neo soul crowd. Give her, she bring her to the mature crowd. To the the 45 plus crowd, the 50 plus crowd, the 55 plus crowd. Bring her up here with us. She's got it, and she is look like she's trying to align in it. So her what she shared on that podcast. So when you go look at that, I want y'all to put that in mind. Like, oh, that's what's going on with her. She is in that self recognition. She's understanding. She's moving to her feminine power. She is cultivating with. It's all about within, not in terms of how she look. It's really about her soul beauty, her inner beauty, and that's the sexy. Also, as a woman, is very important during this time because you start to move beyond attraction to resonance. You start to know how. So the men that she might start inviting is more about being attracted. It's more about who feels at home with you, and your energy provides a home space for them to feel comfortable in you. So she's got to tap into this feminine power on how it draws the right masculine energy. Now, so the thing that she's addressing, she knows is something wrong. Yes, there is, because she's probably not understanding the wide range of masculine expression as it complements her energy hierarchy as a woman. Okay. And so the energy hierarchy for her, what really resonate with her is she needs a man that really is not detached from the feminine energy. This don't mean that he is a compromised man, full scope man, but he understands his feminine energy. I'll give you an example. A man that understands his feminine energy. You don't have to tell him no when to get calm. He knows how to get calm. He understands when to be supportive. He can lead by understanding the emotional um, layer and the morale of the thing and be mindful and still provide guidance or provide container for it. That's a man that understands his feminine energy, but he has to recognize it inside himself. So it'd be easier for him to recognize and bring out what needs to be required for someone else. So Ari needs a man, um, energetically wise, that really understands, that can appeal to her energetic hierarchy, which we refer to in the living soul. For her, she's shown as a feminine submissive. So she really comes from a space. So in other words, if she's gonna look for that more high connective experience and everything like that, it's gonna come more from this feminine submissive. Okay. And so, and that's her hierarchy. So she's quote unquote not someone you put inside a masculine hierarchy frame. And I don't know where choices, has been, but more likely it's probably just this is probably what was happening. She's mixing in the wrong hierarchy frame because it's obvious when listening to her talk, there is an infraction in her paradigm of choice, but she's recognizing it and she wants to get down to it. So one of the things that I'm talking about right now is she's got to understand what is her attraction matrix, understand what is her energy hierarchy that works very well for her in terms of the attraction, functioning in the direction that she's going in an intentional shared relationship space. Okay. And so for her, so when we talk about that, that means there needs to be some nurturance. So she needs a man that understands how to nurture, um, intuitive. The proper term I say is emotional intelligent. She really needs that. Now, my question is, and I say as a challenge, can she recognize a man that exudes that? I think She said the sweet guys, I think in the midst of those sweet guys that she looked past, I think a lot of them probably brought across that connection with that feminine energy that really was good for her. But she was looking for a little extra spice, extra pizzazz. It's typical, but it was of course, it's overshadowed for her to really understand the full qualities of what was being presented to her. And also, when we talk about the feminine submissive our energy hierarchy, it really operates off of value based direction. Because when you think about it, it's like, well, if the feminine is more receptive into a relationship and say the partner needs to kind of be tapped more into that, then where's the guidance, right? Where is the mechanism for it to direct itself? Well, the director piece is value based, okay, the value based direction, which means that it's really more from the inner space, understanding where you're going, what is shared, and wherever decisions and all that stuff goes is coming from the value. Because here's the unique thing about the feminine. So if fellas listen to this, I want to share this because a lot of times there's a misorientation that's out here among us men when we talk about feminine energy. We quickly say feminine energy is supposed to be submissive, and we think that is a vetting piece to vet a woman how submissive she is to you. Feminine energy seeks or bonds. So that means you have to have something, I have to have something where it can recognize the bond to. And sometimes in that bonding, it looks like submission, but that's the wrong term I want to use. It's cooperate. So Ari is looking to cooperate. She operates under a energy hierarchy frame where I want to cooperate, I want to bond with something that, and the bonding piece is the values that's there. So that's another thing for her. So she was dealing with men that did not really tap into what their real values are, what they really stand on, what their mission is. It's hard to bond. So if it's hard to bond, you start finding yourself in these fleeting roller coaster type of relationships because if you don't have nothing base is solid, then a lot of times it's being peppered in with other different stuff to keep it going, aka excitement. Okay, so we see right there that's probably one of the glitches inside her choice paradigm is not understanding her energetic frame or hierarchy that she needs to come from. And so that's easy can happen. I think, ladies, if you're on here, you probably can testify yourselves and admit to that. Okay. And so the qualities that she needs to recognize, and I questions about her. Do you recognize the empathy coming from a man? What does that do to you? Does that bother you, or does that make you think that they're not masculine? Right? So because for her it's going to work well is as a man that knows how, that understands, that has a level of empathic ability, but still a man. Okay, still still it just tapped into his feminine. All right, um, and they got to be sensitive to the nuance. That's another quality too. Basically like how read the room. You know, she needs that. She needs someone where and plus her being an entertainer, right? So you might be in certain spaces. She needs a lover that's already sensitive to the nuances of how it affects her. So they're already being provisional certain things. Let's say, for example, she had a concert and it went over. Well, the lovers are going to kind of make sure, kind of navigate to make sure that people are not pulling too much on her because she already gave so much on the stage. She had to ask for it. She had to even give a signal for it. The lover just recognizes there's a nuance in the situation, and I'm gonna go ahead and work that. Well, that's being a man, but that's a man that's in tune with his feminine. Okay. Also, a quality of is the emotional leadership. So she needs someone that has that emotional awareness, but also can lead the emotions when necessary in the inside the relationship. For example, she might be spinning out of control. How can he help soothe it or direct where it needs to be? Not to control it, Sometimes in the masculine sense mindset, we try to control that emotion. Just as a man, I'm guilty of it, you know, because sometimes you be like, that's not necessary, or whatever. And I'm not saying he can't do that. He's probably gonna come from that space, but at the end of the day, is the end result. Can he default to a space and kind of lead the emotions to where it needs to go? You know, all right. So you got that right there. But the thing is, I want to talk about her submissive in position energetically. Okay, so I said the feminine wants to build a bond to something. Ari needs a bond to something. So a man that's going to approach her has to build a Ari needs to be walking in purpose. Y'all know I talk about the masculine PPPLs. You can tap into that by getting the book that I wrote called the Brother Wrong Woman, or I have audios on it too if you go to my Living Soul Discovery on Spotify. I want to talk about some of the masculine pillars right there. Okay. But she wants to receive guidance, not to be controlled, not saying belittle where she has intelligence, because she's very intelligent, but is to receive guidance. A masculine energy that provides that guidance thing, kind of that guru persona, that we talk about. One of the personas, one of the four personas that shows up for women. So Ari, especially listen to her talking right now, I would say she needs a guru persona. She needs a guru persona and an encourager persona. And so it's almost like these personas are going to help her feel more free, but also give her guidance and direction and encouragement for her to blossom and to tap into her magnetizing phase that as she's going to go into as a woman. Okay. And that's a whole, again, if you need more information, I just said right there, tap to my Patreon and go on there. I break that down, the whole masculine, the personas, how they show up for women. Okay. So she needs that. So let's get into, we look at her numbers. All right. So Ari, we look at her soul profile. She has a nice amount of fire, nice amount of air, nice amount of metal. The water, and the earth wood is very low. That's actually one of her weaker elements in this whole scenario. Okay. And so that makes sense when she says, earth wood signifies grounded support, right? And she said in her mouth, out of her mouth was like, recognize that sense of security. Well, when she said that, I was like, when I heard that, before I went to her number, I was like, she probably has a low score in the earth wood, and she do. So what I'm saying is a lot of times we talk about the traits of attraction. From what we project, we attract to what we project, or what we're avoiding, or what we're admiring, right? I don't think she's admiring the groundedness as a younger woman. So that shows, and you add that with she's already deficient basically in the earth wood. Okay. There's probably an aspect to her unconscious that's avoiding that because she probably associated with being boring, as she said. The earth wood. The earth wood's not going to do a lot of spontaneous surprising and stuff like that, and wows you with a whole bunch of things. It's not going to do that. Okay. Actually, I have an audio on that breaking down about the earth wood dominant personas if you want to tap into that. So so that pizzazz and all that's not coming from the earth wood. And then she's hard for her to recognize with it. So it's hard for her to embody the earth wood characteristic, the traits, the qualities, how it moves, the rhythm of it is probably foreign to her unless she's been, brought up under and cultivated through it and nurtured into it and, and then transferred to her to be able to recognize it as an importance factor for her. So I would say this based on her soul profile, she needs a lover or a love interest or someone that's intentional with her that brings a good quality of earthwood to the dynamic. Okay. That's a must. So if she's constantly dealing with lovers that are low in the earthwood, you know, lower than that, then is she's gonna kind of find herself in the same cycle of wondering like why I keep doing this. Well, you're not valuing the earthwood inside men. You're not valuing the earthwood inside men. You're not valuing the earthwood inside men. You're almost avoiding the earthwood inside men, and that's a part of the attraction trait. You're avoiding the earthwood inside men. You have to tap in and understand what does the earthwood look like? What does it do? How does it feel to you? A lot of times I sit down with individuals, and when I do attraction matrix for individuals, one of the exercises I do is like, let's don't get up on the profile of it. That's look at the embodiment. How does it feel? Who do you see that represents the earthwood? They might name 5 people. They name it. Okay, I want you to now pay attention to how that makes you feel. What's it like? What did you admire about it? And then translate that to yourself. And a lot of times, and it can get very vulnerable. Oh, this and that. Okay. These are these things that exudes from that. You've seen it in real life action, but you got to figure out how to pair with it because this is what you need. You got to find your value in that. You got to find your appetite in it. You got to find your, just being moved by that. So right now, because she was a younger woman, she probably wasn't moved to the calm, collective, more thoughtful, more future-oriented, more long-term planning type of man. And it makes sense when you look at our numbers because also we can look at the numbers and kind of do like a forecast in terms of longevity per se, like where you hold in that band. Um, and we like to say we use the analogy of foundation versus the weather. And it kind of just helps us begin to see like, just where they align in terms of potential longevity or how long they go before um, they might have to revisit the flow of the relationship and the direction the relationship is going. Well, Ari, unfortunately, and I have to, y'all heard me say it before, everybody's not designed for, with inside themselves, long-term relationships. You look at Ari, she has strong fire, strong air, and she does have a significant amount of metal, but she's weak in the water and the earthwood. And so the earthwood holds a lot of weight in terms of what we look at in terms of the quality of endurance. So in other words, Ari is somebody who probably needs breaks and separations in her relationship dynamic to still be aligned with somebody. Or she needs to expect she's going to probably have more short stints. She probably has these different, especially probably younger, just these relationships that's all been under 3 years or, or less. She probably has a series of those, you know what I'm saying? Or find herself into those. And it's probably was irritating, like, okay, there's something off, something wrong. Well, part of her energetic makeup just as an individual is, she doesn't really put off enough energy from her elements that will hold it. Now, when you look at her energy archetypes, yes, you can see some stick to itness because she gets that feminine score as very well. So it knows how to. So once it bonds and finds support and is getting fed, the most problem is she needs to be fed this excitement and everything. And y'all know to keep up the level of excitement all the time, unless you're fully aligned in that, it's hard to keep it sustained and maintained. So after a while, it just dies out. And then when it dies out, she's translating that as something else, and then she's shifting. And she'll continue to do that. It's easy for her to do that because she has low earthwood. So there's a deficiency, and it's almost like an energetic gap there that can easily make her just misread something as like, oh, it's getting boring now, or it's doing this or whatever. And it's too monotonous. That's part that's kind of kicking in. Okay, so when you look at that, so the reality is in raw form, she can find herself really in short stinted type of relationships because we start looking at her attachment now. So what's her soul attachment? Well, when we look at her numbers, and there's 9 different attachments. I'm not going to name them all, but I'll name, like, for example, like, pleasure, prestige, power, preference. Okay. She scores very high in the pleasure attachment. And then she also scores very high in the proclivity attachment. Inside this system, the pattern, the proclivity attachment piece, those are automatically holders of shadows because they're always continuing. So the other ones, the other attachments, somebody can move in and out of, but these, so she has a high proclivity. So it means that she's in relationships and attachments we're talking about. That's measuring what bonds us, what really makes us as an individual kind of just to connect and keep pulling. I talk a lot about the pull push, right? So the attachment is capturing inside that pull what's making you keep pulling over, and that's the attachment piece. And so the attachment piece that she comes from, she is pleasure, but she also got a high score in the proclivity, which means that the pleasure can also have some blind spots with that, and it's instinctual. So she's very instinctual in the connections. And when you look at her three, we call like a mania. She has a mania love, which means she can love deep, love fast, connect real fast. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of us have that quality. The problem with her is when she gets into these quick, high escalated, high chemistry scenarios, she doesn't have the alignment with the earthwood, or she's probably not valuing the earthwood as she needs to. So it's not supported. It's just so once it's going and flowing, and then once it burns out, then the relationship is dead or whatever. Or because she said toxic, then there's probably some things. One of the biggest things is where her quality is, she probably experienced a lot of people trying to mute her voice, lessen her voice, lessen her expression where she is. But she's really inside. She's a softie. You know what I'm saying? But she needs someone that can acknowledge that softie, protect that softie, but also stimulate her growth and her desire to go and pursue without being intimidated by that. Because she does have that fire, she does have that air. And she got that metal where she'll execute. So she's got the aspect where I gotta go out and go get it, right? But you can't get offended when I'm in my expressive space, when I'm out getting out and getting it, when I'm, out there networking, air, networking, fire, networking, trying to deliver, trying to close deals, all that, whatever, it's just she's got that dimension. No need for her trying to shake it. It's a part of her energy. It's part of her energy. And then she also has a dominant part of her in her scores. So there's a part where she can assert herself, okay, to assert herself and do what needs to be done. But her power is really being able to put things together, attract it, and to be in a more submissive, receptive mode. So a man that masters that, to be able to allow her to be in a receptive mode, but still be able to ignite her fire to be expressive what she needs to do, that's good for it. And then they got that grounding piece, but the permission for her to still be, now she can find herself more in a long-term placement, more sustainable, because the earthwood brings sustainability, into the equation. But she's quickly, just naturally, she's quickly captivated by pleasure and instant connection. Instant connection, instant pleasure, and it's a blind spot because she has a strong proclivity score with that. So that means it's almost instinctive. Which when you listen to the interview, she was kind of like, I just don't know what it is. What I explained, because it's instinct. Just in your quick, natural instinct, you connect. Oh my God, the conversation it was spontaneous. The chemistry was there. We had something. Boom, pow, we're flowing. But then not understanding the soul aspect of the individual or whatever, then it begins to switch dynamics or switch outcomes. Okay. And so I'm quite sure she probably experienced that. Like it looked like one way going in, and then going out was a whole nother thing. And this is where I talk about the difference in attraction versus resonance. And right now she has to get maybe educated and cultivate the appreciation of resonance. Now, here's a good thing. I was talking about the phases of femininity. She's going into the magnetizing phase. And I didn't bring this out, so I want to make sure I revisit this so I don't forget. She's in the last year of her confirmation phase, but she's already feeling the pull on her maybe 2 years ago, pulling her more towards to the magnetizing phase. There's a major switch You're going from the fire dominant overarching over this phase, and she's going to the earthwood phase. So what that means is that there's a strong likelihood it could be a little bit easier for her. Okay, so remember, she's deficient basically in the earthwood, but she now can tap into the earthwood because it's influencing her for these next, well, she hasn't entered into it yet, but next year she will. She'll be influenced by 9 years of certain soul lessons coming from the earthwood. It's all about the inner stimulation, all about what sustains her, what connects with her, what's resonating with her, and also her transforming from attraction to resonance. The fire is more about attraction, but the earthwood is more about resonance. And so this is the developmental piece that she's going into. And listen to what she said is she's very open energetically. Her soul is open for it. Now, if a man is very, and really cares about her, he can tap in and really help her really accelerate those soul lessons of what it feels like to resonate with someone that still is not, I'm not saying she got to be with a stale dude, but someone that can still, but can appreciate the wide range scope of someone that brings in that earthwood presence to her, right? It also brings in the water because she also is kind of, she needs some water. So that flexibility, that emotional intelligence, and that refreshing. She needs to feel refreshed and she needs to feel grounded and sustained. And she probably, in her choosing, in her choice paradigm, she probably hasn't chosen those strong characteristics because typically that might not look so exciting because it takes you to slow down a little bit to get refreshed, right? If you're always on the go, you gotta slow down a little bit to get refreshed. She right now thinks being on the go might refresh her. I'm not saying it doesn't bring a sense of exhilaration, but she's strong fire. You know what I'm saying? She's strong air. So there's that, what I'm saying? She's got that energy, but she need a man that's kind of just, cool out. Like her music would just, let's chill out. Let's sip a glass of tea, let's sip a cool wine, and or whatever. She needs that person that can really help her unwind without her losing herself, without her losing her fire. And that's a skill set. That's a skill set that a man, really has to be able to bring. Um, so when we talk about the attachment, one of the things that it does bring out, okay, and this refers to avoidance. Okay, so when we look at the score, and there's 9 different type of avoidance that matches our soul division. I'm not got time to go into that, but one of those avoidances are emotional avoidance. And it's showing that around that pleasure and the connection, that attachment, but then the thing that she's avoiding in the attraction, the reason why she's not choosing men with the proper amount of earthwood and enough water in their soul profile, or have a sense of connecting with their feminine energy, and men that are intuitive and men that are understanding grounding, is because in that midst, there is the soul resonance piece coming up is the emotional side. Emotions require reflection, and emotion requires acceptance. So, in an aspect of a core value for Ari, she's got to accept the expressions of the earthwood and accept the expressions of the masculine that's in tune with their feminine, is able to bring that nurturance to her. She might be defining it differently. Nurturing means to be able to cultivate. Nurturing also means to prune. So there might be things in you that someone needs to, help cultivate, but it's not there to rob your soul or to drain you. That becomes toxic, right? So just because a man, so I want y'all to think, especially ladies, when you say nurturing, I don't mean, oh, he's soft. That's not what that means. Nurturing means they're about your growth. And if you're not about your growth, that can be a clash, right? Nurturing is really about trying to help you cultivate. That require prune. That might become your direct mirror, reflecting things to you, so that way you can what? grow. Okay. I don't think she has a resistance to it. I just think she just probably hasn't incorporated the value of that for her now. But because she's at a space of reflection and she's also in great transition over to a different phase of life, it's becoming a lot more easier, valuable to her because she said, I'm recognizing there's something off here. And it is. You missed those soul lessons for that, but it makes sense because your energetic lineup explains it. Okay. And then also your natural inclination, you're more prone for short stint engagements with potential lovers or potential interests. High fire, high air. I mean, you got the metal to kind of, to maybe try to anchor you a little bit, but your pull is on quick seeing, high chemistry, that's connect, that's stay right here. But sometimes to keep the burn going, it takes a lot of work. And the way you keep a lot of work, you exhaust yourself. Okay. And so at the age that she's at the age where she can recognize pattern exhaustion, what we call. Um, so the pattern exhaustion, she went through the phase of pattern recognition, and now she's into a phase which is pattern exhaustion. It's like, okay, I know my errors, I know my missteps, and I'm tired of it. That's the age. That's the great age for anyone when they start get 36. Because I always say that's a crossroads phase. If you're not exhausted with your patterns, then your desire for relating in a very functional space, enduring space, is has a low success rate because you're not recognizing the things that really exhaust the relationship, and obviously you haven't caught on to the soul lessons that you need. So now it spins you in a whole different direction. Okay, so there's an emotional avoidance that's showing up right there, and it's probably sitting around vulnerability. And so we talk about the mirror avoidance. There's 5 different windows, and one of the windows of that is control. And so I think that she wants to stay in control of her emotions, and because of that vulnerability, because why? She loves deep. She connects fast, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people have an ability, and let me say this, and it's sincere. So she can connect fast and it be very sincere, okay? But when you have what we call a mania love style, um, you can really love so deep, and people, I don't got time to get the mania love style is so deep, is very open, it's very connective, it's very present in the moment, it's very soul imprinted. So someone that comes in contact with it's a stamp that when you have somebody with that 3 or that mania soul love, it's just like, yo, you know, and it's a different language and it's cool. So it's not really about a control thing, but it's really about allowing that fire and that air to have its freedom, but also have a base to know I'm here for you. You know, we're open and free. It's just that unspoken language, like, I got you. You could be you, but I know in the end of the day is we're gonna connect. They connect at a very deep soul level, high passion often, obviously, things like that. And the reason why it's mania love is because it loves so deep, it's already at the crossroads that could switch over and get crazy. Okay. And so we also look at the soul makeup and the profile of Ari. Um, Emotionally, she's coming from the ego space. There's a social component that comes, from that. So there's a lot of air and emotions that she needs, and also with the ego spot, there's a pool inside of her. So we look at her personal. We talk about the inner war, right, versus the inner peace. Nothing too alarming. She does have inner war, but when you compare it and patch it with her inner peace part and then her regular soul state, it keeps it contained under 10%. So she's cool. So she can self-evaluate and self-correct and self-regulate without a lot of delays. That's great. And we can hear it in her expression, right? Um, So that deepness of that love style, and then she has the four. The four is known as the soul lover. The soul lover is neutral, so it's not caught up in all these definitions. So now, I will say this because there's different ways, there's different love styles. Okay, so Ari is kind of mixed where she needs that romantic piece. And romantic piece is meaning to create memories. So she loves that. With the mania, all this connection, I'm creating memories, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, and there's not this high demand to define it. So she really needs a lover that she can just flow with, and the flow becomes the definition, not you defining what it is. The flow is your definition. And everybody, I don't understand it. Then that might not be your that might not be your alignment. But a lot of us that do understand that, oh, that's what it is. That's confirmation. Ari she needs a flow and a lover that's constantly in the flow, not trying to be in her flow or not trying, they just have a flow, and that flow is the definition. And then you protect that flow. That's when she's, like, that's the type of message. Okay, there's a natural flow that we got. We're not too caught up in, all the different, all the different, the conventionalities of relationship. She really don't care. Now she might be programmed. She might be trying to bring that forward, and that's part of that. That's what's making confusing her choice. But there's a flow in the lover energy. A lot of times it bothers people because the lover energy is just neutral. You know what I'm saying? It's able to be present. And so she got that 3 and the 4. It can get present and get deep and stay there. So and someone's got, shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I like this. That's that, and that's that intensity. And so that's what she attracts to. That's part of her attachment. It's the emotional intensity. But she needs, not a bad thing, but if she's connecting only with that and not valuing the earthwood, the grounding piece, then yes, it's going to spin her more in the toxic taste part of it. And I think that's probably what she's probably been dealing with, just in her evolution as a woman at this point. But I think if she's, taps into some of the things I'm mentioning here, and I'll probably do another episode going into this about her, because there's more. But that's what a lot of this is spinning around. And that's just what she naturally does. So a lover needs to have the fire too, but they gotta have this grounding piece. They gotta have this adaptability piece, the refreshing piece. They gotta have this intuitive piece, and they gotta have this protective piece about them. Not protected to silence her, but protected to, this is the flow, and we just fall in this particular orbit. She got air too. Think about it. You can't compress the air too long. It's gonna feel suffocated. If you compress the fire goes what? It goes out. So you can't, you know what I'm saying? So there's an aspect in her persona that you can't do that. You can't do that. Right? So you need someone that has a more well-rounded. That's where the earthwood comes into play. The earthwood is sustainable, it's flexible, it understands masculine and feminine components that needs to be there, so it brings some of that, what it is. It's not there to compete with the fire or with her air, but it's helping her to give her that sense of grounding that she definitely needs, but she's definitely have to value that. And I think the main piece right now, the reason why she's probably seeing residue in the appetite for toxic exchanges with men, is that she is not valuing men that exudes the earthwood and the water qualities. Because, just obviously you might misinterpret it. And I think she's been misinterpreting a lot of things, but because she's getting a little bit of age, because she's switching over into a practical. There's another thing too. When you go into the magnetizing phase, it's practical. So she's now tapping, you can hear in her voice, she's tapping into a practicality. When women start getting practical, you start seeing they're sexy. You know what I'm saying? That's a mark of the sexy coming out, you know. And so when she starts getting practical and she's going through these next, so she's going to go through some deep major transformations, not to to not to go against her. I think she's really going. We're going to see some dynamic growth in Ari. You know, we really are. We're going to see because one, that air of self determination, and it's not dependent upon somebody to give it to her. She's got it. And that metal, that shows she's got the discipline. So she know how to put in the work. Now she's gonna put that work she does in her career profession, the work she kind of maintain herself. Now she's gonna put that work into her inner development. And I'm not saying she hasn't been doing it, but it's about to be amplified. Because she's craving that. She's thirsting that because she's gonna see the results because now she wants to what? Choose better for herself. She wants to choose better for herself. And when a woman is in that space like that, the level of beauty, the level of resonance come from her, the attractive quality goes up. So a lot of people say when a woman gets 30, she's, like, oh, she's losing her flair. No, 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 no. Women enhance their value when they start tapping into their earthwood. And a lot of y'all know me, I always say that. The woman now she's not getting that, she's not tapping in, then yes, unfortunately, you start to see the value, you start to see a rescinding and almost a arrested development aspect that goes on with the woman. I know everybody want to touch on that, but it's true. And so, but when a woman taps in to the earthwood, and a lot of women, if you're mature, you could be like, yeah, when you start wrestling with that earthwood and then start being practical, start being reality based. So that's another thing too. So Ari's going from, I think she's gonna shed that, but you went from fantasy now to reality. She's being pulled into reality and she is not resisting it. So that means that Ari is low on the delulu. she's not trying to embrace her delusion. She's trying to embrace reality. And there's a lot of women, that don't want to forfeit the fantasy. They want to mix it in, and you start seeing they have a lot of these deluding the choices or deluding situations that arise in their life path, and you're looking at it, and that becomes unattractive. When a woman begins to lower that delulu or removes that delulu, she increases her attractive quality. When she can hold space and talk consistently and think consistently for longer periods of time in practicality versus trying to escape into escapism or into fantasy, her soul quality, her soul resonance, boom, radiates, draws in things, her feminine power. She starts to see all these different things. And I'm telling you, she's got it. She's on the trend to move in that space. When this woman moves into her 40s, shit, let me tell you something. You're going to hear it in her music. You're going to hear, she's got it. She's got it in her. Now, as long as she don't get distracted, but looking at where the pace she's on, hearing what she's at right now, like I said, because that metal she got in her, once she figures out, and I hope she reaches out, I hope she reaches out to me, because I really would love, in private, I don't need no attention. I really would help her see where her attraction matrix is and where her repulsion matrix is, so she can understand how to work that into her frame of her decision making, and she'll begin to see different qualities and different representative of men that she is inviting, that she's resonating with. She's got to move beyond the attraction and get more into the resonance. And when y'all hear me talking about the distinction, think about the tuning forks. It's all about the inner stimulation. So right now, unfortunately, pleasure and instinct. She has a strong pleasure and a proclivity attachment. So it makes her more instinctive. So that means she's more on the attractive side, more the spirit of the moment, more the spontaneous, that rapid fire. That's cool. But she's ignoring and she's not evaluating the earth, wood, and the water brings in the bond, it strengthens the bond quality. So she's probably missing that level of expression of the masculine exudance coming from that way. She might see it in her father, but that's her father, right? That might show those earthwood and for her. But in terms of her dating profiling, she's been doing so far, I bet you if I sat down with her and we start to really look at it, she can really just start to look at it. We start doing the soul choice matrix for her, take her through that type of modality, start looking at her patterns and stuff. I bet you, I bet you anything that we will see that her earthwood and her water score in those with those individuals were showing deficient, wasn't being present, like it needs to be, So if you, yeah, I was saying, if you want more insight about, I'm talking about the attraction versus the resonance, you can get that also in my book, Activate Your Lover. Activate Your Lover is straight talking about that, and it takes you through some exercises to help recognize what you did attract or what you attract to and so forth. So it's a tool. It's a book, but it's a tool. When you get into it and read it, you got some stuff that you can roll over into each of your relationships, or you can self-reflect right there. And so Ari just in that she's in a very good space. The Earthwood invites reflection. You know, so then we're going to see this, and like I said, I can already see it right now. Her as a woman, and I don't say any woman is sexy, but you can see. I mean, she's visually appealing, but her soul, you can see it. You can't see the soul in everybody like that. It just comes across. That's what makes a woman magical, is when you can see past her physical and you can see the soul just as equal to her physical, or if not more. That's when a woman is tapping into her feminine power. And I can see that with her. Her soul's right here, and it's just coming right here. And after a while, you're gonna see you're gonna see when you meet her, she's attractive, but when you meet her, you're gonna meet her soul first. And let me tell you something. That and when she starts doing that, she's gonna see different men coming to her or approaching her differently. And she's gonna value it differently because she's like, oh, they're stimulating my soul. But I feel the fire there, but it's a different fire that's igniting my soul. She probably hasn't had that yet, and she needs to experience that. So I wouldn't doubt, she get around more self-aware men. Definitely, that's what it is. She has to get around self-aware men. She has to develop friendships with self-aware men, so that way you have some affirming. You have, I call it masculine affirmers. Some men need feminine affirmers. She needs masculine affirmers that exude this level of self-awareness as a man. They're not trying to get at her on some highlight, some secret agenda, but really that she can go to and as a confidant and get some insight about the masculine psychology in a healthy space and the masculine psychology from the energetic space as it relates to her, and that she can experience. She needs to have that. I don't know if she has it or not. I'm just saying overall, but she needs those masculine affirmers to be able to sit down and can just have and be cool for company. You know, she can just sit down and and you can cool out a hookah bar. You know what I'm saying, or sip some kava with, and she's comfortable in that. She needs that because she needs to feel what that comfortability is, coming from someone that's coming from a space of care, that's looking more all about your well-being. That's the earthwood. That's the earthwood. So some of you, if you resonate with this and connect with this, of course, definitely share this. If you want more insight about the earthwood dominant personas, when you click the description, when you come back when this is posted, you go in the description and see, and you click to check, my books. As a matter of fact, I give more information inside my book, Elements of Us, the relationship analyzer tools that help you analyze your relationship as well. A lot of stuff I bring across, they're like tools that you can use. And when you click that and you scroll down, you'll see um, the audio for the audio album, so you can listen to it, continually, which I highly encourage, on the earth would. You know, also having all audio for the air, the water is going to be up as well too. I know some people was asking about that. The water dominant element will be up soon as well too. All right, so let me check out what we have right here for our closeout. Hopefully this all makes sense, but there's more to visit with Ari. But I want to make sure everybody, yo, I'm not. This is not critiquing her at all. This is celebrating her evolution and where she's going to be as a woman. This young woman is going to personify a level of womanly grace, a woman that's in tune with who she is sensually, a woman who's in tune with who she is sexually, a woman who's tuned to, to know where her ego needs in a healthy space. This woman is, she stays on the path. I know with that pleasure piece, it can maybe amplify some vices. So I think that might have been peppered before now too, and that can blind you with your choices. So I think she's going to start amplifying more of her virtues over her vices. And some of y'all know when I talk about the ego itself, there's insights on that. There's a book on that, ego itself. It talks about those 5 different measures of the ego: self-importance, be able to neutralize, um, being able to pursue your gratification, understand what your tendencies to be in the vice or the virtue. And I think as she's getting to that greater crossover, if she got anything that maybe aligns with some addictive qualities that's more vice, I think that she's going to have more strength, and it's going to help allow her as she begins to boost the virtue over the vice. So I always say shadows appear when vice is overriding the virtue. The shadow comes, but when you can, or you have less control over it. But when you can tap into the virtue and the light of your archetypes, now you got a foothold on those shadows. So I think even personally, I think there's some personal shadows that probably came up through the pleasure side, instinct, high fire, some addiction into some things. And once you get clear of that and purges that, your eyes will open up just like that. Okay. So I know I've been on here for a while. Let's close down. Let me see what we got. It's getting to the level of toxicity because of the lack of recognizing competition. She is entertaining men who are in competition with some of her innate values and innate attributes. Ooh, yes. Instead of, ooh, absolutely. Great point. Deep reflection. Absolutely. Let me see that. Let me read it again. Is getting to her level of toxicity because of her lack of recognizing competition. She is entertaining men who are in competition with some of her innate values and innate attributes. That's, and that happens more than we really realize. Sometimes people, especially if you got a high attractive ability about, and she does, they start trying to compete with the inner essence of you. Absolutely. So I resonate. We share that 3 to 4. The flow is absolutely, the flow is everything. I got a 3 and 4 too, so I get that. I get that language and lingo, you know, as well. She also has a fundamental magnetism. Yep, that is evident in other areas. Will be interesting to see what the next phase brings. Yeah, I can. I already got that. I can really see if she's on the same path, and off of what I've heard and just seeing, I'm gonna tell y'all. I mean, I don't know if you saw. If you look, it's probably about a month ago. She did a set in I think the Blue Note, something out there in Cali, but she was with Robert Glasper, and I said that. I said, "Oh, she's coming." you know, those that are grown get that. I was like, "Oh, she's coming. She's more likely to come. She's not going to falter. She's going to figure it out, and she's going to come. She is going to come, and she's got it. She's got the to uh, appeal to that mature uh, blossoming phase, and then she can still appeal to her where she's at in her peer group. She is going to be very well rounded if she stays on it. She's very sincere. Um, and I like that. She's becoming very sincere who she is. That is sexy, you know. And I can say, as a man that's looking like that, you know, like from my state of intention, I would want to help her launch. I would even try, I would be a friend to her to help launch her. She does have that vibe, but like, let's say, you're attracting, and then if your taste is kind of thrown off, you might not recognize that um, that masculine, that the encourager masculine persona that we talk about. We talk about four masculine personas that attracts to women in shadow form or in the light form. And I just think, well, just for me, looking at this and looking at some different stuff and just from observations, so I think she's ready for, and she probably never really dealt with it. She needs a guru. She needs a guru persona. She needs a guru and an encourager persona. That they piggy back and forth in those things. One, they both appeal to her air, and it also doesn't quench the fire. The encourager will feed the fire. The guru won't quench it. It'll just try to show you where to direct it. So she's, she's got that. It's there's actually a whole audio album. It's like over 4 hours long, where I'm breaking down these masculine personas. It's on my Bandcamp, but I'm going to roll over to another platform as well too, so people can get that. Ladies, I will say this: I have a lot of young sisters. Well, I'll say there's a lot of early 30-year-old sisters that has got in that, and they have constantly thanked me. It really, it's not just for them; it's for all women, but it really taps in. If you're on my Patreon, definitely it's there. you know, if you get on my Patreon, join my Patreon, go to Patreon, just www.patreon, and then type in Living Soul and become a member. And we have there's a lot of information provided. There's a library there that is very valuable for you. Also get access to the podcast. Because some of the things on the podcast is locked and is only locked for members. But if you're paying like at least like $7, a month member, you're getting I mean, the stuff I'm breaking down right now, you're getting wide scope of that. And I invite you to do that because that allows me to be able to do more what I'm doing right now. Okay. So I want to spread more of this out there. Everybody, I appreciate everybody chiming in. Um, this will be somebody's laughing at me on this thing. uh, but we're gonna tap back in. I like Ari. I like Ari 'cause I like what I see. I have a thing. I love seeing what other people are not seeing, and I can see it coming. This sister is coming. And I'm talking about in her womanhood. She is coming. She's coming. You know, she's coming. She's coming. Let me see that guy. She's coming. I look. I'm seasoning this thing. I know if she don't get derailed or whatever, she's coming. She's 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 got it. She's got it. She's really, especially if she gets aligned and understand what matches her soul, and she starts choosing from that. And oh man, she's she's not so consumed in her fire. I just think she was just highly influenced with it because it's an attachment. It's an instinctive attachment for her. So it's like, yeah, but she's not drowning in it. It might look like it. Man, she crossed over, and I think this is a perfect year for her. She is going to literally um, allow some of those things to die, and she's about to create a whole new cycle. That's what I see for her. I see her intentionally creating new cycles for her, and she is not going to disrupt it. She's I think as she I don't know what her crowd is like, but she's getting that crowd where it needs to be, the crowd control, her environment. She yo, and then she's able to invite a masculine that's sincere. I know it seems like it's hard to get men that's out of the patriarchal thinking and or it's rule based. But there's a lot of brothers, there's a lot of sacred men and there's intentional men. Understand, ladies, men are changing. We're doing our work differently. Now, I would say the slower pace, but I will say, but when men are tapping in and they get the science, quick with it, quicker than women. Women it take y'all a lot long. I mean, y'all entertain y'all bubbling around it. When a man gets serious and gets on it, oh, he's on it and he gets it, and then he starts trying to learn the ins and out of it. And so when men start to understand the feminine psychology, the feminine energy psychology, and start understanding his personal responsibility, understand what to stimulate the basic baseline of feminine energy. Oh my God, she get that. And I'm gonna put it like this: she has the energy field on her right now to attract a guru. The question is, because she has this glitch right now with her earthwood and her water, is will she recognize it and let me embrace something new? That's the question for her. That's if she's not blocking that, it can happen quicker because she's at a space right now. She's putting out the signal for the guru persona to come in her life. She specifically needs that right now. She needs guru men, and encourage men, but she needs the guru men that's going to just give her life knowledge, break it, she's got it, man. Let me stop. She's got it. I'm giving props for props as dude. She's got it. Ari's got it. Go get her album. You know what I'm saying? Get her new album she's released. Give this lady some love. I need her to come over to the neo soul side. I need to see doing more sets with Robert Glass from what I just saw there. Cause I was like, oh my God. Come on to the grown and sexy. Come to the grown and sultry side of things. You know, we we spend for live entertainment. She could perform live. Man, she's got it, y'all. She is soulful. We haven't seen the soulfulness. She's going to bring it. She's got it. I seen it. I'm like, oh, I can see her in City Winery and yo, girl, you ain't gonna worry about the commercial stuff. Tap in. You know, go on tour. Layla Hathaway. Yes. You know, Cy Smith. Yes. And still do your yo. Okay. Let me stop. But she's got it. She's got it. So that's what's up, y'all. I appreciate y'all. We'll touch back down on Soul to Soul Conversations, podcast. So this will be available up on here. Join me on Patreon, seriously. Show a brother some love. I'm Satori Seals. Patreon, Living Soul. Tap in there. If you want some of the books, you want more, like I'm doing relationship breakdown, get the elements of us, the relationship analyzer tool. If you want to learn about relationship mapping, that's an investment you need to make. We're going on April 12th. It's still open for people to tap in. You're going to be, like I said, April 12th. It's going to be virtual. We're going to tap in and really get into that. If you want more insight, activate your lover. So once you click the link in the description, once this is up and uploaded on YouTube, you can go in there and just click that link, and you'll see all the different other books. But like I said, game changer. You serious about, it's game changer, and you got an appetite for the spiritual, energetic part of relationships. That's what these books are providing for you. And there's audios breaking stuff down too. So that's what's up. A one love. Touch back down.